Hey guys, welcome back to Love Your Shelf. I'm Tracy. So January, February, and March are when I plan on reading these books, and I wanted to go over some of them with you. I put them on this rack so that I know what I'm reading, and I totally forgot to put The Witcher on here, but I'm currently reading The Witcher. I'm about 120 pages in. I'm on the third chapter. The chapters are like 50 pages each, almost. So I watched The Witcher and I watched my husband play The Witcher, the video game. And so I know who all the characters are. And I think that that is very helpful in like the fast pacedness of how they introduce people, which normally can throw me off in books, but it didn't because I know who like Triss is and stuff like that, whom in the books I don't like Triss. Like she's kind of boring and schoolgirly. Maybe that will change. I'm only in the third chapter, but I read the second chapter like quickly so that I could get to the third chapter because she's in the second one and I was over it. And then the third chapter is about her too. So unfortunately, I've read like 2 or 3 books in that time that I've been in chapter 3 because I'm just trying to get over Triss. But I do love The Witcher and I'm excited for the rest of it. I really enjoyed the first chapter, so I'm just waiting on everything else to make its way to me. So that's one of the things that I'm reading. And then this is what I plan on reading next. I didn't set this up very well. I need to think about it. This is what I plan on reading next. Legends and Lattes by Travis Beltree. So actually, this is what I plan on reading hopefully after I get done with The Witcher, but I might not make it through The Witcher. I've been looking forward to this book for so long, and I got it, and I'm like, I can't read it. I have to finish all these other books before January, and now it's January, and I just want to read this book, damn it. So I might start reading it before I get through The Witcher, but we'll see. The next book that is on my to-be read that I'm going to be reading soon, that I have physical copies of, is The Deep by Rivers Solomon, which is going to be our book club read in February, so I'm excited about that. And it's shorter. We chose a shorter book for the shorter month of February. So I need to get that out in February as well. And this has also been on my to be read for a very long time, and it's a Christmas gift that I got, so I'm very excited about that. Also, Michelle Obama's The Light We Carry is our January book club book, and I'm currently reading that as well. I did buy the book finally at Costco, but I started the book originally through Audibles because I got it sooner than through Libby, because I got it sooner than I thought I would. The hold said it was going to be days and months and weeks, and it was not long. So I'm also reading that. Then I have these kind of inputted in a few different ways. So this pile is books that other people recommended to me. Just kidding. This pile is books that other people recommended to me. So we're going to go through those. So the first book is The Hot Zone, which my husband recommended to me forever ago. And I still haven't read it. And then COVID happened, and Ebola happened, and then COVID happened. And so I need to just read this damn book because it's one of the only books my husband's ever read that he loved that I didn't introduce him to. And so I need to read that. Then I also have Trevor Noah, Born a Crime, which was recommended to me by Mia. And this has been on my to be read for a long time, but she read it and she's like, it's one of my favorite books. You need to read it. So I definitely do need to do that. This next book is It Ends With Us, which was recommended to me by Rainaru, who is practically my niece. She's my BFF, my best friend, that has been my best friend for ever since I was like 17. So years among years now, decades almost. Her 16-year-old daughter recommended this. And Colleen Hoover is blowing up, and I've never read anything by her. And she let me borrow this book. So I need to read it and give it back before I have it forever and never read it. Then, also recommended by Mia is People We Meet on Vacation, which has been out for a few years, and it definitely got hype, and I just never read it. I'm not really I can handle romance if there's fantasy or action, but I'm not used to books where romance is the main plot. So we'll see how it goes, because it definitely is getting me out of my comfort zone. The next book I have is recommended by my husband, and it's called They Both Die at the End, and he is not recommending it because he's read it. So this is the first book of that I have on my recommended list that was recommended by someone that didn't read it, but he read what it was about and thought that I would like it, so he told his parents to get it for me for Christmas, and I'm excited to read it as well. I had seen it around and did not know what it was about. And it says, on September 5, not 5th, 5, a little after midnight, death cast calls Mateo Torres and Rufus Emeterio, maybe, to deliver some bad news. They're going to die in less than 24 hours. Mateo and Rufus are total strangers, but for different reasons, they're both looking to make a new friend on their end day. The good news is there's an app for that. It's called Last Friend, and through it, Rufus and Mateo meet up for one final epic adventure to live a lifetime in a single day. That actually does sound really good, so I'm very excited to read that as well. And then the last recommended book I have is If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler. And this is very interesting. I started reading it in December, but I didn't finish it because I got distracted with other books. Not because this isn't good, but because other books that I was reading, like, I was further along in, and I wanted to finish them for my book count for the year. So this was recommended to me by a staff picks video that I did, where you can't really see because of the light. There we go. Because I decided to literally pick a bunch of books that a staff pick at a bookstore chose, and their name was Alex, I think, and so I picked like 8 books that they recommended, and I've read 2 of them so far, and I want to read the 3rd one. So even though it was recommended, it wasn't recommended specifically for me. It was more just recommended in general for anyone to read, which is a little different. And then I did ask people for book recommendations for this year, and that's where some of these come from, but most of these are books that I've been recommended previous to this year. And then I also, in next quarter, I'm going to put in the books that others recommended in that as well. So we're going to have recommended books every quarter as well. So I'm excited about that. Then the next one, the rest of them are books that I want to read. And so this is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. And I honestly have zero idea what it's about. I never even read the back. I just saw the cover and what it was named, and I was like, you know what, I have to have this book. So I don't know if you know, but I'm a Scorpio sign, and I love the water. So anything that's water based, I'm always there for. And this cover is gorgeous, so I can't not do it. So that is definitely next. Then I also have Homegoing by Ya Gyasi, and I'm probably going to say that wrong, and I'm very sorry, ma'am. You're amazing. So I've been told. I have not read anything by her yet. Homegoing was on my list last year, and I didn't finish it, so I'm making it a priority in the first quarter of this year. Then I have Rebecca. So a few things. This year, I'm attempting to read 500 books according to Goodreads. I've mentioned it a few times, but I have probably read more than the almost 400 I'm at, but probably less than 500, and so I'm going based off my Goodreads count, which has like all of the Boxcar Children and all of Animorphs. I couldn't sit like that anymore, guys, sorry. All of the Animorphs and like Boxcar Children stuff that I read when I was little as one book, because I don't know how many of them I've read. So I'm coming up on 500 books, hopefully by the end of the year. My goal is to read 100 books, so I'll be really close. The most books I've ever read in a year is 69, so I'm really stretching myself, but I'm going to try to make it work. So with that said, I want to add some classics, because if I have read 500 books, there are certain books that I feel like you should just have read by now with that count. So, like Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, I love the movie. I've never read the book, so I do want to do that. Rebecca is one of them. And so is The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared is a classic. And so is The Odyssey. So The Odyssey and Little Women are going to come up later on in this year. And so is probably definitely stuff by Edgar Allan Poe. Classic-wise, probably John Steinbeck, maybe Ernest Hemingway, maybe Scott Fitzgerald. But I've read those before, so I'm also trying to think of, like, I've read something by Ernest Hemingway, you know, not like all of his things. I read Old Man and the Sea, and it's so boring, and I want to read something better by him because I heard he's amazing. So we'll see. But anyway, so The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared. I've just heard, really, like, anytime someone on BookTube talks about this book, I've heard good things about it. So I want to check that out also. And then I have The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. So Marie Lu normally does, okay, first off, yeah, let's talk about how gorgeous that cover is too. But also, Marie Lu has amazing young adult books, and this book is about Mozart's sister and her story, because she was just as impressive and talented as Mozart was, but she wasn't celebrated because she was a woman. So I don't know, this is like a young adult fantasy, and I don't know how that's going to be portrayed, but I want to know. So I'm very excited about it. I really enjoy Marie Lu as a writer. So this has been a book that I've had for a while, and I can't wait to read it. Then I have a few books that came out last year that I really want to read. So the first one is Gleanings, which is a bunch of stories about like the Scythedom and the Scythe universe, which Neal Shusterman wrote about, and I recommend you get those books and read them if you haven't. They're really good. My brother started this because I got my brother into Scythe, and he started this and says that it's not as good because you don't follow characters the way you did in the other books. They're just stories, and sometimes that can be really difficult when it's not one giant book that you're reading for hundreds of pages that all has one storyline, but instead small stories, because it's easy to stop and harder to continue to go. You know what I mean? So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited about it though. I really love the Scythe universe that Shusterman has made. So I am 100% ready to dive into this. And this just came out in November. So it's pretty new. But the next one I have is Stephen King's Fairy Tale. Speaking of classics, like, he doesn't write classics, but I really have a list of authors I want to read this year that I've never read before, and Stephen King is one of them. But also, I'm a wuss, and so I'm very excited to read something that is supposed to be kind of thrillery, but not like as scary as The Shining. And I have literally heard nothing about this book. Like, I knew that it was coming out. Goodreads promoted it well, or whatever I was on. Like, it was very well promoted, and I haven't seen anyone like talk about it or read it or tell me what it's about or tell me if it's good or tell me how it compares to other Stephen King books. So I'm excited to read it, and then hopefully someday it'll gain traction. I mean, it did just come out and it's a big book, so I'm sure I'll hear about it eventually, and if not, then I'll talk about it, and we'll see if other people agree with the things that I'm saying about it. And then last but not least, definitely not least, this is a book I've been waiting for forever, and that's Atlas of the Heart. So I think it came out, I don't know, 2020, 2021. It's not 2022. but it is by Brene Brown, and Brene Brown is incredible. And I love atlases, and I know this has to do with the heart. It's not like a map, but I don't care. You named it Atlas of the Heart, and I feel like Brene Brown like knows my heart. She speaks to me when I read her because she puts so many things in perspective that I can't put into words, but I've definitely felt. So I'm really excited about Atlas of the Heart. Also, I'm going to put my mic down for a minute and just show you some of these pages, which I haven't looked through either. So we'll see how that works out. So part of the purpose of showing you those pages is because Brene Brown also does her own like audio for her books, and I've heard that when you go through it, it's amazing. But this book is gigantic, and it has like a whole bunch of stuff in it that I just didn't want to miss through Audible. I'm sure she does it justice by reading it audibly, but I needed the book. You know what I mean? So I'm very excited I got it. I waited a long time for it. And the front says, "We are the map makers and the travelers." And I love that. I love maps. I love traveling. I love that whole aspect, like that we are one and that we are united and we are the dreamers and the map makers and the travelers. And I'm really excited about that book. So those are the books that I physically own that I plan on reading this quarter. A few that I'm reading right now on my Kindle Oasis. Well, I'm reading one on my Kindle Oasis right now, which is She Who Became the Sun. And it is heartbreaking so far, but I'm very excited for the main character to see where they go, because they've just been brought down to rock bottom, lowest level, and they're trying to work their way back up as a very young child. Like the stuff that they went through, their life until they were 10 or 11 wasn't great, and then they went into a monastery and it still wasn't great, but better than it was, because they didn't have to worry about starvation and just being unseen. They still have to worry about being unseen kind of in the monastery, but they don't have to worry about starving. So it's a really good book. And then if I still have time, we'll see how fast I get through these. If I still have time, I just finished Jennifer Lynn Barnes' first book, The Inheritance Games, and her second book, which was The Hawthorne Legacy, and she's coming out with a fourth book, which is a prequel, in August, and I'm very interested in that book, but I'm not interested in The Final Gambit, which is the third book, because I've heard a lot of things, so I might read that. We'll see. I know that there's a lot of books that I own right now that I'm really interested in diving into. Those are some of the books that I am going to read this year in the first quarter, so January, February, March, and I'm very excited about them, and I can't wait to tell you guys about them in my quarterly wrap-up. Hopefully there's a few books in here that you have read, and if you like them, let me know so that I have more like motivation to read through them. Thank you so much for joining me today, you guys. I'm Tracy. This is Love Your Shelf. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day. Namaste.